to present.
Great, thank you. So I'm Barry Pittendry. I'm a professor at Michigan State University, and SAWBO, or Scientific Animation Without Borders, is a program that is embedded in a university program. So we're based at Michigan State University, and we were developed actually at University of Illinois. So we're an academic program that is about research to outreach to actually student and global engagement. So it's a circular process where we develop with other collaborators educational content with global experts. Once that's deployed, then we work with outside groups. We work with a considerable number of students and global collaborators to understand the impact of that content, and that drives future scholarship and future scaling strategies. When we create content, we work with teams of experts on health, agriculture, and specific topics to grade that content, so we know that the content is accurate and it's expert vetted. So we then create high quality peer-reviewed animations to educate people of all literacy levels. Our primary focus has been low literate learners, but our content can be used for people of all literacy levels. And then we place these into numerous languages. This is all done in a virtual space, so we work with global experts all over the planet. Once content is created, then it is made freely available for others to take that content and use it in their educational programs as they see fit towards scaling. So our intent is to develop the necessary knowledge to support a scaling strategies that then others can use that content and learn from our previous scaling strategy under research studies in order to scale the particular work that they want to do. So, and again, I'm going to be very brief because I'll pass it over to Seve to show you the website, and then Julia to talk a little bit about the research program. So we have several layers of how people use content. There's a significant number of people that use it that we do not document how they use it because we don't keep track of any information for security reasons. But for those documented users, as of December last year, we had counted over 43 million documented users through other groups that had scaled our content. We have content in over 90 different topic animated areas currently released, and about 10 more coming out in the next few months. We have over 145 languages. That's probably closing more like 200 languages. People can easily download that content and use it as they see fit in their educational programs. Where we do not have it in a language they need, we can work with them collaboratively to place it into local language, and we can do that virtually. It's a very easy process, and we're very well adapted to dealing with that. Many other organizations have been using our materials over the years. Ranging from small to very large organizations. We've done considerable collaborations with USAID programs, various USAID programs, USAID missions. We've also worked with FAO. The WHO has used our content, numerous governments, small, medium, and large NGOs. We have numerous arrangements with television stations in West, East, and Southern Africa. And the content is technology agnostic, so people can use it on everything from WhatsApp networks to Pico projectors to displaying on television stations. So if you want to know more and you want to get a hold of us, this is the contact information. I do want to comment our website is currently migrating, so there'll be a couple little glitches maybe here and there. If you come across them, all that's going to be fixed within the next 24 hours. So the migration wasn't the best time, but we were forced to do it at this time. So I'll turn this over to Seve, who can give a very short presentation, about 3 minutes on the website, and then turn it back to Julia, who will give the next step of this talk. So Seve, go ahead.
Thank you, Barry. So I'm gonna share my screen. Hi, I'm Severina. So our project manager. I'm gonna show you really quick how to navigate our video library. This is our video library. You can find us in this address over here. So our core areas are agriculture, women's empowerment, and health. So today, so when you are in our video library, you have the option, if you go here, that you can search by language, topic, or country. Any language. So I'm gonna just choose any language for you to have an idea. Now you're gonna see how many videos we have translated in this language, Amharic. So you can see over here that we have some agriculture. I'm gonna click on this one. Now that I am in this video, I have the option to download this animation. to play it later when I don't have internet. But I need to have internet first to download it. So I'm gonna download this to my computer. It's gonna be sitting on my computer so I can play later in a place that I won't have internet. As you can see here, it's ready to play later. You can share this animation through your Facebook, your Twitter, or your WhatsApp. If you're familiar with WhatsApp, WhatsApp have the option, it's called WhatsApp Web. You can click on there and then you can share this. Like I'm gonna show you really quick how to share this animation through your friend that you have in your WhatsApp. So I'm gonna click here, and now I'm gonna send them and they are ready to go. These people can share over and over. You can find on YouTube too. You can find how many more languages we have for this video. You can click over here. Thank you so much.
You do the drop down and you click, it takes you over to that language.
Yes.
And then if you just want to go back to the main web page, and then we can jump back to Julia in a second. So you just can simply click on any one of these icons and it'll take you to the particular animation you want. So let's click on the deep tillage if you don't mind, Seve. It'll take you to the animation and then you can do a drop down to see which language, and this is a brand new animation, so we only have in a couple languages. You click on that, it takes you to the language, and then you can click on any one of those icons to download the version you want. We have smaller versions for smartphones, so they're easily transmitted by smartphones, and then the bigger ones for MOV and MP4 can be easily used for television stations or larger scale broadcasting. So thank you very much, Seve. I'll just
Thank you.
I'll take that back and then I'll get my screen back up and then pass it over to Julia.
Thank you, and I will be very fast. So since the beginning of the program that was launched in 2011, we were very interested in what was the impact of the program to evaluate how people watching this animation could transform their life, could improve their daily livelihood. So one of the questions that we tried to address at the beginning was, are people willing to learn by animation in their own language? So we believe that people learn better when they watch the content in their own local language. So we try to address this question in many different countries. So you can see we have Ethiopia, Ghana, Burkina Faso, Mozambique, Niger, and other countries. So the second question that we try to address is, do people learn by animation? So it's not that they are only willing to learn, but do really learn watching an animation several times. And we have done this, we call like learning gain studies. So we measure what people knew about the content before and after they watched the animation. And we have different studies in Benin and Niger. And the third question is, do people adopt, or are they willing to change their behavior? So not only adopting the technique that we were showing in the animation, but also using the same technique over time. And we did a research study in Mozambique over a 4-year. And the next slide, please. So for the first question, are people willing to learn by animation? The answer in their own local language, the answer is yes. And if you are interested in the research that we did addressing this question, these are the publications that we have for different countries. And you can find these publications in the website too under the item of publication. Next slide, please. And then do people learn by animation in their own language? And this is a graphic of the study that we did in Mozambique. So we compare animation with extension presentation, and people knew the same. People knew the same at the beginning, and then after the intervention, we realized that there was like an increased learning gains when people watched the animation only, and this increased learning gains was more effective with women than with men. So the answer is yes, and again, we have done this study in different countries to address this question. And lastly, the last question, here we have our publications and do people adopt, and if they are willing to change their behavior. And we have done this research not only in agriculture, but also in health. So this is the publication that is like 89% of people adopt the solutions that we provide in the animation. And this was the research that we did in Mozambique. And we did like a follow-up study 2 years later, and the same for health in Madagascar around tuberculosis. I think that's it. My time is over.
Right.
I went very fast. Thank you.
Right at 10 minutes. Thank you, Severin.
Okay.
Thank you, Julia.
Great, thank you. That was really, really informative. So we want to open it up to questions to anybody. So if you have a question, you can write it in the chat or unmute yourself. We do have one question. What is the source of this is from Dar. What is the source of the content, and can it be accredited when the animations are used? Which I think is a good technical question.
So we work with global experts on creation of content. So we will go back and forth in reiterative manner. All people that contribute, we include them in the credits. So they get both attribution for what they've done, but they also have responsibility for what's in the content. So like a peer review manuscript or paper in an academic journal, those that contribute do get credit for it in our credit section in the animation. When we collaborate with groups, we are also very interested and very focused on what we call co-branding. So when we make content and it's delivered in a particular country, we're very open to, and in fact, actually, we're very much in favor of co-branding locally. So we've co-branded in many cases with local government agencies, major global organizations. So we're very much about giving credit to make sure that other groups get the credit that they deserve in terms of these collaborative efforts, because these are collaborative efforts when we make content. Those that do voiceovers, we give them credit for the work that they do as well. So yes, we're very open to giving that credit. And then where necessary at the end of animations, if we're relying on a peer reviewed publication, we try to cite those. But typically it's based on interactions with experts, both globally and locally.
Okay, can I follow that up real quick?
Sure.
If that's okay. I appreciate that answer. Thank you very much. That direction that you answered it was one direction. I was coming actually at it from the other direction, as if I'm to use these animations in the field and if I'm to share them, how can I reassure my audience that I'm sharing it with that it's solid information, that it's that it has base?
That's an excellent question, and I think that's one of the things where, from our perspective, we make sure everything is absolutely accurate. And it's one of the things where one strategy around co-branding is making sure we're working with agencies locally that are respected. So, for example, when we're doing animations of COVID-19 in Nigeria, we're working with the Nigerian CDC, we're working with the United Nations and with the government Ministry of Health from Nigeria, and that was co-branded with them as well. Yeah. I think excellent question, much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. That was great. So we have a question from Charles. First, he said this was great, but he wants to know, was the effect based on knowledge, attitude, or practice? He wants to make sure, knowledge does not always translate in practice. So I'm not sure if he's referring to the study, but.
And I'll just jump in on this one. I'll just give you one example. So the 4-year study that Julia did in Mozambique, they looked at a value chain and looked at gaps in the value chain, knowledge gaps in the value chain, and logical intersection points in the value chain. And then that interjection of the information was done at that point in the net value chain where there was an actual demand. So that is a very in-depth study that allowed us to address that particular issue. I would argue that one of the reasons we saw very high levels of learning gains and adoption, because there was truly a demand and a need to fill a gap in a particular value chain. And Julia, is there anything else you want to add to that?
I think, because I see like several questions, so maybe we should continue. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Yes, we have a question from Ansha. She has a couple of questions, but we'll start with this one. How are you getting audience feedback on the content and animation characters? Is there any pre or post content testing?
Yes, we get feedback on content and animation characters. We've gone through years of sort of testing of a variety of different characters. Paradoxically enough, the actual local look. The character doesn't necessarily have to look local. And paradoxically enough, we made animations for one country where the characters looked like they're from that country, but the animation was very popular on the other side of the planet. So it's not as big a deal as people think it is, but we have every capacity to make characters look generic or very, very specific to particular countries. And we do rely on a significant amount of feedback from target audiences as we're creating content, also to make sure that they understand what is being said in the animation. Julia, do you have anything to add on that? Or?
Yes. So I think some groups that we work, like sometimes we do animations for other groups, and they are the one that do the research beforehand about the type of characters that they want. Like, for example, in Bangladesh, they were very interested in the characters that look like people from Bangladesh with the outfit, the clothing, but normally, people don't have any problems accepting other characters. And I think the most important thing is the content. So, but sometimes characters matter too. I agree. Yeah. Okay.
Great. So there's a question around research gaps. Oh, sorry. Charles, do you have a question?
Yeah, I think someone else asked what I wanted to ask. The question I asked on behavior change. So the question I asked on practice was, when they read the content, did you measure whether they practiced what was actually the information that was given in the content?
Yes, they do. They always practice the information that they are learning and the content. So sometimes they are like performing, the information that we are providing in the content. Yes, they do. It's like hands-on practicing the content. Yes.
Yeah, so one that's around Jerry Can is when people do demonstrations, oftentimes they'll show the animation and then they get people to redo what was done in the animation or reproduce what was done in the animation after they've watched it. So that is a really great way to reinforce learning, not just watching, but getting people to do afterwards. Thanks for the great question. So I think we don't have a lot of time left. The other one was the gap in what are research gaps you see in your work? I think there's a lot of things that we're just continuing to address. Some of them is about next steps around scaling. We're also very interested in when one group learns and they pass that information on to another group. When you're passing on the animations, how does it sort of keep the fidelity of that information? And a lot of Julia's recent work is around fidelity of information. So if somebody learns, how much do they reinvent? So if somebody reinvents and they still get the technique right, they're an innovator, but they reinvent and it doesn't work anymore, then they didn't learn it properly, right? That's sort of the paradox of education. So significant amount is around those issues. And Julia, maybe you want to weigh in more on that? I'm sorry.
Yes. You just addressed the two main research questions that we want to pursue. Yes. Yeah.
I think also part of their question might have to do with the current situation. I know you mentioned that often these animations work best when you pair it with the practical demonstrations from the video. Do you know how people have been adapting to that given the current context of COVID and reduction of direct trainings?
We know that learning games as standalone work just fine. That we know. But the most effective strategy, in our opinion, is using it as a tool that can be reinforced afterwards. But on its own, we know from previous research that's effective as a standalone. So, but we do have case studies that we're working on now to understand how content is being used in a very different context during the COVID-19 crisis.